Hello, puppies and kittens. Welcome to another episode of Blasphemer's Bible with the usual assemblage Lawrence and Lilith and Tomer. And we have a new guest. Think the name is pronounced Juana, who's joining us from Romania. Juana, tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, all. Yes, my name is Vana and I'm from Romania. I'm a secular humanist, an atheist. I try to not be upset about being an atheist anymore. And I try not to be upset about the people who still believe in God. Because I've been there and I now understand that it's not something that they are to blame for.
Okay.
And I'm trying to bring peace somehow, at least in the circles that I go, between believers and non-believers. And in Romania, it's kind of a touchy subject
Fair enough.
So
still.
I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to join this show?
Well, you did. I've been watching you for a long time now, and I love your videos and the comments you make and all the arguments you bring, which are really to my heart. And I started my YouTube channel in Romanian because I want to reach Romanians. And I'm reading books on it because education, I think, is very important for everyone. And recently I started reading the Bible too and commenting on it. And I chose the Romanian Orthodox Bible because it's the majority in Romania are Orthodox Christians.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I think I've read one of your comments in one of our videos that you said some comments said that they've also read try to commentate on the Orthodox Romanian Bible or something. Was it you?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Perhaps it was someone who watches you.
That would be interesting. I don't have so many followers.
We all start somewhere.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah.
it's wonderful to have a new perspective. I know, obviously, Tomer's from Israel, but the rest of us are from North America. I'm from Canada. Lulandra and Aaron and Lorence are all from the United States. And, in media discussions, often that is. Wait. Oh, yes. Peter is from the Netherlands.
See.
Yes, Peter, I'm sorry. You're just always running things. You do such a good job.
Thank you.
But that does limit how much you can provide commentary. And it's nice to have another, I guess, former believer who understands what it's like to actually believe and then not.
Not exactly. Yeah.
That's a fun journey. That's
Yeah.
a fun journey.
It took a while.
It's
Yeah, it took years of searching, and at first I just couldn't believe because it didn't make sense, for an old guy in the sky on the clouds. When I learned what clouds are,
yes,
that is not making sense anymore.
Well, and then I don't know about you, but I know I was told by spiritual leaders that I was experiencing spiritual growth, that I was coming to a more mature understanding of God and faith and the Bible and everything. But I dug too greedily and too deep, and the Balrog of the truth came forth, and now Moria is empty.
And then you fell from grace, just like Icarus. You got too close to the sun.
Yes. Now
That
my
being the
scalded
Son of
wings
God.
Oh,
Yes, well, I tried cherry picking a lot and started turning my attention to other religions. And I said, maybe there's God, maybe in India, maybe in Africa, maybe in other places, maybe in our past, maybe in Odin, maybe in, I don't know, animals, nature. Where is
something.
it?
It's yeah, I mean that's the journey. And it's part of me wants to respect the desire to find, and part of me wants to say, look at the trail of broken bodies. Maybe we need to stop doing the thing that leaves the trail of broken bodies. So, but that's a whole nother series of shows. That's not even a show, that's a series. But
yeah, I agree.
Last week we were missing you, Lorence, and we left off before the really interesting stuff between Jacob and Esau. So we stopped after the only non-incestuous marriage Mary mentioned thus far in the Bible, and the lamenting of it as a horrible thing, which was Genesis 26 at the
you'll
end.
see what you
34,
will
35.
see how how Rashi just also hates this marriage.
Oh yeah, I have no
Another.
doubt. I have no doubt. But now we're on to Genesis 27, where, damn it, one of my sons will marry his cousin. Otherwise, I can't live.
And throughout the whole Jacob and Esau thing, Esau just keeps getting absolutely screwed.
Shafted.
It's bad in the Bible, but when it gets to if you guys have ever read Jubilees, it's basically like another account of it, but it presents Rachel, I think, as like this horrible fucking mother, like she's the one who's orchestrating all this evil shit. Rebecca,
Jacob and Esau's mother. Yes.
yeah, okay, yeah,
I
sorry.
just get that.
Yeah, in the Romanian Orthodox Bible, it's kind of portrayed the same.
Yeah, so it's like the emphasis on how horrible Rebecca is.
Oh yeah.
Is in Jubilees is just
woman's
like
fault.
wow, yeah, they really went a little overboard there.
Yeah, Lawrence, you should know that when we read that bit, and then we get to, I asked, should we try to move on because we got a little bit of time? Should we try to move on to the next chapter? And Lilith says, "Oh no, you don't want to touch this one without Lawrence."
I knew you would have much to bring to the table. And let's face it, this is a thick chapter. This is not the death of Sarah that we can get through in 15 minutes if we really need to. There's some meat here and a lot of drama. Oh, the drama.
I like how the death of Sarah is just like 20 verses, and here it's like 40 verses. She died. Who cares?
Well, the really important thing is that there's a record that Abraham owned land and had a conversation with the neighbors, and they were all very polite while he bought the land. That's the important thing to remember. He bought land.
Yeah.
And wealth and nose rings.
Yes, that's nothing against nose rings, but the weight of some of those sounds painful.
Okay, so who's reading today?
I suppose I can read this one. All right, everyone all set? Everyone's got their multiple pages of commentary, right? All right, good, very good.
Yeah.
All right, chapter 27. And it happened, when Isaac was old, that his eyes grew too bleary to see, and he called to Esau his elder son, and said to him, My son. And he said, Here I am. And he said, Look, I have grown old, and I know not how soon I shall die. So now take up, pray, your this is just weird English. Pray your gear, your quiver, and your bow. and go out to the field and hunt me some game, and make me a dish of the kind that I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, so that I may solemnly bless you before I die. And Rebekah was listening as Isaac spoke to Esau his son, and Esau went off to the field to hunt game to bring. So, yeah, already, a few things. One, Esau is, of course, acknowledged as the older son, but he's not actually called the firstborn, and that's really important. There
Yeah,
are
it's called
places
the
where he's called the elder son, but
yes,
never firstborn.
the eldest son.
A subtle cut.
Well, I think only later it's Esau says that he is the firstborn. I think.
Yeah, but
And
didn't he lose
when he
his
finds
right?
out that Isaac lied to him.
He had already sold his birthright for porridge,
Yeah.
for
Mm.
red bean
So he's
soup.
not firstborn.
It's a lentil stew, I think. Yeah, you're talking about
Yeah.
chapter 25,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, that's
Yeah,
okay.
lentil
That was
stew.
Juana's trying
25
to
where he
say
did that.
something.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
we did that part.
So I'll start my
But yeah,
commentary.
he got absolutely fucking screwed on that deal. Like,
I
what a
know.
fucking ass Jacob is.
Yeah,
I
but
know.
he said yes, on the other hand.
Yeah, because dude was hungry.
Yeah, well,
Where
apparently
was
he
he?
wasn't a very good hunter. He'd been out for days and he was starving, and he's like, "My kingdom for a bowl of soup, too."
Yeah.
Well,
Lentils too.
I've commented
Ew.
previously. I've commented that when Esau says that he's about to die, he says that he's about to die because he is hunting a lot, and basically hunting could kill you, and so he felt like he didn't really have any use for the first, was it the firstborn? What was the
Firstborn,
name?
yeah.
Yeah, the
For the
birthright.
birthright. The birthright that
So
comes with being the head
I-
of the family.
I've already gave the Jewish commentators, but I'll start my commentary for this. So first, for his eyes were so weak. This could also be read as his eyes were dim, like the KJV. And Rashi gives three midrashic explanations as to why his eyes were dim. First, through the smoke raised by these women, aka Esau's wives, in offering incense to idols.
Right. It can't
Okay.
just be that he got old. It has to be a woman's fault, an evil devil worshipping woman.
Well, that's
Jesse
the first.
Peterson would be so happy.
That's the first explanation. The second explanation is when Isaac was bound upon the altar and his father was about to slay him, at that very moment the heavens opened, the ministering angels saw it and wept, and their tears flowed and fell upon Isaac's eyes, which thus became dim. And the third.
Wow, what a
Yeah.
stretch.
Yes. And the third explanation is they became dim just in order that Jacob might receive the blessings.
Yeah, I think the third one makes the most sense. They're setting up for the end when he accidentally puts his hand on the wrong kid.
Oh, we just have to remember that no matter what happens and no matter what atrocities are committed or who's screwed over, it is never, ever, 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 ever a patriarch's fault. And the story will reflect that.
Yeah, just
when
like Ben Sira did. He was like,
when it
nope,
comes
not
to
patriarchs.
when it comes to more modern Jewish commentators, then they are more critical, but I'll get to that. So about verse 3, which is your quiver. So some commentators like Rashi, Sadia Gaon, Bachir Ben Asher, and also translated from Targum Onkelos, have suggested that the quiver is a sword which is hung from the back because the word that is used is teliecha, which has the root word tala, which means to hang. However, others like David Kimchi, Rashbam, Chizkuni, and also translated from Talk of Jonathan, wrote that this is a quiver of bows.
Yeah, that does make sense because, hunting with a sword is not terribly effective.
But it's not uncommon, I guess.
I mean, you could have a sword to finish the deal, but generally it behooves you to at least take game at a distance initially.
Behooves. Very good.
It behooves. See.
And verse 4, where it says the kind of tasty food I like. So I was wondering if there, if there is a midrash or some commentator who describes what the the tasty food is, and I found one. This is from Midrash Sechel Tov, which I think was written in around 11th century, 12th
Is it
century.
boiled in milk?
No, it reads that these are all kinds of dishes that have spices like oil, salt, peppers, or turmeric or cumin.
Now, speaking of spices, I remember when I was a kid, when you
Gordon
talk about
Ramsay would like
hunting,
this dish.
the,
Mm.
the, there was a storybook, children's storybook, that was talking about how to catch birds, how to catch wild birds. Sprinkle salt on their tail, and then you can catch them.
Mm.
Okay. If you're
I've
close
received
enough
that,
to
yes.
if you're close enough to sprinkle salt on their tail, you've already caught them.
All right, I'm going to read some comments here. Saleman, $1.99 says, "Hey, Aaron, why do you wear a muleneer? Curious." Uh, because I spent at least 10 years of my life as a 10th century Viking, and that's not something I really want to explain because there's a lot to that. I still have some, this one is a relatively new one. I still have a double tourmaline quartz crystal hammerhead muleneer in wrapped silver that I made,
Ooh.
that I used to wear back when I was still in my neo-pagan stage. Um, and it's just something I just wore traditionally. And then Matt White says, Lilith, that's pottage, not porridge. I feel we've gone over this.
Very likely. But I have to admit, I'm not too deeply invested in the name of the mess of beans that Esau sold his birthright for.
Lentils. That
Yeah.
was lentil,
Lentils
not
are
beans.
beans.
I don't. Are they?
Nephilim Slade offers $10. Thank you. Says, hey, Aaron, I know you don't actually worship Satan for real, but I was wondering if you were going to have a session on the Satanic Bible strictly for comparisons for those who aren't familiar with it. Well, no,
Ooh.
because Satanists don't believe in, they don't believe in the Satanic Bible like some kind of infallible scripture. So there would be little point to it. I mean, I like reading the things that people actually believe to point out the the weaknesses, the gaps, the fallacies, whatever in these scriptures, so that people can realize that, well, yeah, they were all written by people. We already know the Satanic Bible was written by people, and Satan is fully accepted as written by people. It's not divine. Then Kicker White Lion for 100 Czech kroner says, Lawrence, I need your help. From what I have read, the correct pronunciation of giga in Old Greek is Gija. Can I get a correction or confirmation? A bit off topic, I know. I just have no one better to ask.
No, it's definitely closer to our modern pronunciation. It's giga. Yeah, giga.
Okay.
I don't know where um, the J sound came in. There are a few letters that have changed over time, like Z used to be pronounced with a D, so like Zeta, modern
Yeah, but
modern day
Greek
Zeta would be
don't
used to
have
be
G.
Zeta.
Greek
And then,
don't pronounce G. They don't have that.
Yeah, I mean they're
They
asking.
studied Greek, and I know they don't pronounce J. We
Yeah,
don't know that.
yeah.
No, J is the J sound specifically of J is
Z. They
yeah.
have Z.
yeah. So thank you, Juana. And then Silvio George Pantelimon says, question for Juana. Great to see, although rarely, another Romanian atheist. What are your thoughts on religion taught in public Romanian schools?
Oh, well, I didn't. I went to school a long time ago, so I didn't have religion in my school. But from what I've heard, it's mostly people that studied theology, either priests or monks or just people who study theology. And it's very important which one it is, because some of them are very open to questions, and I find it very informative for the children, and other are very dogmatic, and that's bad, obviously, because there are children that come home from school with ideas like, I don't know, am I going to hell because I lied, or things like that? And am I gonna burn for eternity because I'm a bad girl or boy, and things like that? Um, of course, I don't agree with teaching dogma in schools. I would much rather prefer if we had something like a history of religion or something like that.
Yep. I know
Okay.
there are places that teach comparative religions, and that can be a good inoculation.
Yeah. But it doesn't happen. Mostly, it's very dogmatic in Romania,
I
and
believe.
it's Orthodox religion only. We don't have an option. I mean, for other religions to opt for other religious classes. We don't have that. And it's not fair for other religions as well.
No.
Yeah, this may be interesting for people who are not that familiar with Romania and all that. But I remember reading about Vlad Dracul, the historic basis for the Dracula character,
Mhm.
was at one point a warrior for the Catholic Church against the Orthodox Church. And then later he was forced to switch sides. And I may have gotten this backwards. Maybe he started with the Orthodox and later fought with the Catholics. I don't know which way that went. But he was then fighting for the Orthodox against the Catholics. And of course, at some point,
I
he was fighting for general Christianity against Islam.
Yeah, well, that was a theme in Romania because we had to fight the Ottoman Empire a lot
Wasn't
because it
wasn't he
was
also
there.
wasn't Dracula also based by Vlad the Impaler?
Yeah, Vlad the Impaler.
That's who we're talking
He
about.
was
That's
called
Oh,
Vlad.
okay,
He was also called Vlad Dracul.
okay.
so I'm surprised he isn't a
Draculea.
saint with a resume like that.
He
There's a
is
lot
kind
of
of.
saints.
Yeah.
Like,
We have other former rulers as Saint Vlad the Impaler was known for everybody behaving, not having criminality anymore because he impaled, people.
Draconian,
Yeah,
perhaps.
Yeah, so
indeed.
and yeah,
Saint Dracula.
Dracula, yeah. And there's a story that on his days when he was a ruler, you could leave like gold on the streets and no one would took it because they would fear Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to be impaled.
Anyway, enough about that.
You know, before we move
Shall
on,
we
though,
resume reading?
before
Wait,
we
wait,
move on, though, I identify like I wasn't raised in an Orthodox religion, but I was raised in a Vietnamese Catholic tradition and a Southern Baptist, both fundamentalist, both very observant, very churched. And with confession, I'm just a little kid, and they talk about how religion makes children feel awful. And I was just a little kid, and it was time for confession. We're all in line to confess to the priest, and we're like, well, what can we say? I mean, because if we say nothing, that we're gonna look like we're lying. We never sin. But if we say something else, we might get punished. And so I decided to come up with I argued with my brother, and of course I got punished for it. I got like 20 Hail Marys. So
Aw.
For arguing with your brother?
yeah, I had to say
That
something.
is
I couldn't say
so
nothing.
unchristian of you.
Yeah, I know. A bit.
When I was a little girl, I remember when my grandmother took me to church, and she taught me, well, the priest is going to ask you, have you lied? And you should say no. And have you done that? And say no. Say no to everything. It doesn't matter if you did it or not. I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
you don't want to get punished.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah,
What's the point of
God,
confession then?
God
I
is just
know.
reading the book of life, and he's seeing the she she fought her brother, chucks her right into hell, in the deepest of hell.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
but he
life
gives
we need
Hitler
children to
but
lead.
he gives Hitler heaven. Yeah,
This
because
weird coincidence. I happened to see a video of a Romanian christening yesterday, and the baby. Some people were saying maybe the baby died from it because it was only 6 weeks old, and he was just like slamming that poor baby into the bowl of holy water, and the children behind the witnessing it took 3 steps back, like, whoa, don't do that to me. It's a very frightening thing to children that you're an awful sinner, original sin from birth, and you need to pay all the time.
Romanians don't see it like that. For Romanians, all that bringing the baby. I mean, I was horrified at first, but I got used to it because I have to attend these things for the people that I love, and I'm looking at them, and they are so happy and relaxed about it, and they like know that nothing wrong is gonna happen. And I'm like, how do you know that? And they're like, because we know. And I'm like, okay, what can I say?
Shall we
It's
continue?
mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Uh, and Rebekah said to Jacob her son, "Look, I have heard your father speaking to Esau your brother, saying, 'Bring me some game and make me a dish that I may eat, and I shall bless you in the Lord's presence before I die.' So now, my son, listen to my voice, to what I command you. Go, pray to the flock, and fetch me from there 2 choice kids, that I may make them into a dish for your father of the kind he loves. And you shall bring it to your father, and he shall eat, so that he may bless you before he dies." And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, "Look, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man. What if my father feels me, and I seem a cheat to him, and bring on myself a curse and not a blessing?" And his mother said, "Upon me your curse, my son. Just listen to my voice and go. Fetch them for me." So it's interesting that the issue of their uh, voices are different, but I think that gets
Yeah, the hands are the hands of,
later.
or the voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau.
So
The
this
hair.
this guy, this family all lives together. Evidently,
Mhm.
I mean, they see each other quite frequently. But one day, the father suddenly says, "Whoa, look at that! I've gotten old. All of a sudden, I'm going to tell my kids that I've gotten old." I mean, a story, a made-up story would say this, but people wouldn't really see this. I'd say, and then comparing the two brothers and this kind of like soap opera escapade going on here to get the blessing of all of this reeks of fairy tale.
Oh yeah,
Why is it that the
100%.
believers don't see that?
Because they think if they see that they're damned. So you'd be amazed what lengths people can go to not see something that they are not prepared to see.
About about verse 13, where she says, "Let the curse fall on me." I like Ibanez's comment. He writes that this is the way women talk.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
Of course, it's
right.
his comment. Oh my god!
Yeah, but in the translation made by Streakman and Silver for the Ibanez's commentary, they comment that he meant that a mother is willing to have any trouble that is destined to fall upon her son to fall upon her.
Okay, in fairness, that is actually usually true. Mothers and decent fathers were like, I wish I could, protect my children from all harm and take that for them. But yeah,
I think it's more like it's my idea. I'll take the curse.
mhm. It's my idea, which, I mean, in fairness, it is presented that way, that it is. And presumably Rebecca does know how to make Jacob's favorite dish. She's his wife.
Of course.
So you just have to cook it like
You
it was
forgot the
Esau who
salt
cooked
again.
it. Yeah, all that spicy salt. Maybe some oil.
But what
Ooh,
about
turmeric.
they said he said something like, I'm gonna seem like I'm cheating. You are cheating. You don't seem like you're
Yeah.
doing that. Exactly that.
His name is literally already liar. I don't know what he's complaining about at this
He
point.
doesn't want his dad to think he's a cheat though. Because
Well,
Yeah, why
yeah,
not?
because
it'd be real bad.
well, and I very much get the impression that particularly at this time, the blessings and cursings of the father who is, reached the point in his life where he's going to step down and potentially knows he's going to die soon, like those are sort of, they have power as last words. I think people would hold that those blessings and cursings had essentially a magical quality, especially
I think
coming
it's
from the
more like,
patriarch.
I think it's more about the wealth that he lives.
That too.
Yeah. However, I've noted previously that some commentators write that Isaac wasn't wealthy at the time. I think Nachmanides said so, or even Ezra. I forgot who exactly said.
Come
What
on,
happened to
everyone
all of
is
Abraham's
wealthy.
wealth?
Yeah, but he says that have you never seen a man who is rich and when he's turned old, he's poor?
It's another kind of poorness. It's a metaphor.
Okay, we'll
I
go
think
with it.
that's more probable. But
They have cows and cattle and sheep, and how can it not be rich?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that they're like, they're not kings or anything. They're not a
Yeah,
royal
well,
family, but they are, fairly decently off for the time period. Yeah.
they're
Yeah,
certainly not starving.
Yeah.
wait, let
and
me
the
see.
the king
Who?
is talking to him, so like equals. So pretty powerful,
Um,
though. Abimelech.
You
Yeah.
have
Mhm.
Just
chickens and geese and ducks
Oh my!
for the town to see and hear.
Yeah, it was Ibn Ezra. It was Ibn Ezra said that his father Isaac had no wealth, and he's in commentary he gave several proofs, and I gave the one of his examples that Isaac loved Esau because of the food that he gave him. If there had been ample food in Isaac's house, then Esau would not have sold his birthright for a dish of food made by Jacob. Also, why would Isaac request Esau to hunt him some food if there had been savory meat at home?
Maybe he
But
just likes the taste of game. Game.
What?
He
yeah,
didn't have a
I mean
refrigerator. He
I
didn't
mean
have a
others.
refrigerator.
Yeah, I mean
So
others like Nachmanides disagree with Ibn Ezra, but
fresh meat. He wanted fresh meat.
mhm.
So uh, then, if Rebecca said, "Go and bring from our yard two," uh, what were they?
Kids.
Sheep, kids,
Kids.
Goats, baby goats.
Kids,
Yeah.
baby
Not
goats.
sweet,
baby
but
goats. So that's fresh meat
yeah.
at their disposal.
It's possible that, I mean, there's a couple of possibilities that he liked the taste of wild game better, that it worked
Mhm.
better with the dish he liked best, that he thought that his son Esau should do something, perform some task,
Yeah, like ceremonial.
ritually in
Yeah.
order to, present a gift of his own making for the blessing. You could make any of those arguments. Obviously,
That
I mean,
makes sense. Yeah.
this is all fictional, so but any of those could reasonably be an interpretation.
Hmm.
All right. Gonna continue on here. He's just told to go get the goats, and he went, and he fetched, and he brought to his mother, and his mother made a dish of the kind that his father loved. And Rebekah took the garments of Esau her elder son, the finery that was with her in the house, and put them on Jacob her younger son. And the skins of the kids she put, and being the kids again, the goats, she put on his hands
Hmm.
and on the smooth part of his neck. Wow. Then I guess Esau was really a hairy guy. All right.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Like furry.
we mentioned when he was born that some commentators think he had hair already. If you're
Yes.
looking at the hair of a goat on his arms, he wasn't just hairy, he was the wolf man.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
On his arms and his throat
And
too.
his neck.
Like that's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
The
Uh,
soft part
He
of
was a
his neck.
Wookiee.
He was a Wookiee. He was a Wookiee. Yes.
It was
solved
her
it.
suit.
Yeah.
I am now and forever going to imagine Esau as a Wookiee.
Yeah.
And where was I? Right. Okay.
And Esau
so
came home and
18.
said, Unigugu.
almost.
Yeah.
And she placed the dish and the bread she made in the hand of Jacob her son, and he came to his father and said, "Father," and he said, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?"
Wait, you have to do it in a manly voice because he's imitating Esau.
Uh,
Father.
Oh, right. Okay. Father. And he said, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" And Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done what you have spoken to me. Rise, pray, sit
I'm
up,
getting a bit of a cold.
eat of my game, so that you may solemnly bless me. And Isaac said to his son, "How is it you found it this soon, my son?" And he said, because the Lord gave, the Lord your God gave me good luck." And Isaac said to Jacob, "Come close, pray, that I may feel you, my son, whether you are my son Esau or not." Man, they just read it from a mile away, right? Knowing that he would want to, you don't really want to touch his son,
Yeah.
to recognize him.
Yeah, I have a commentary on this, but
Okay.
I would like to start with my verse 19, which says, "I am Esau, your firstborn." So commentators have debated whether Jacob lied to Isaac or not. So Rashi argues that Jacob didn't lie, and basing on a midrash, Tanchumat 10, the verse should be read as, "I am, and Esau is your firstborn."
Oh.
He's not really lying. He said, "Here I am,
Oh my god.
and Esau is a firstborn."
And half truth is
Good
still a
point,
lie.
son.
Yeah. However, Ibn Ezra rejects this interpretation as nonsense. Instead, he writes that Jacob did indeed lie, because, to quote him, prophets are divided into two groups. One group consists of God's messengers concerning commandments, like Moses or Aaron. The other, those who foretell the truth, like Elisha and Micha. If the latter have to say something that is not quite so, there is no harm done. However, a prophet whose task is to reveal commandments never lies. And I also found an article about the traditional Jewish responses to the question of deceit in Genesis 27. Peter, I linked it here. If people are interested to read about this, from what I've gathered, most traditional commentators have tried to reason as to not Esau, Jacob, that either he didn't really lie or that he did lie, but he uh he lied for a good reason. But there are modern commentators think like Benu Yaakov, and I forgot who else. Someone is Skinner. I don't remember. Who are more critical of Jacob, and yeah, I think the read is quite interesting.
So, what is the
The
moral
pro-
message behind lying to your dad like this to cheat your brother?
Because you want the birthright.
It's all
No,
your
not,
mom's
it's not the
fault.
birthright anymore.
Oh,
It's
sorry,
not the
sorry.
birthright anymore. It's the
The
blessing.
blessing.
It's the blessing.
Right, the blessing, because he already got
Magical
the birthright.
enchantment.
And
Yeah.
about verse 21, to know whether you really are my son. So Rashi writes that Isaac was skeptical because it is not Esau's way to mention the name of God so readily. Because,
Of
Esau is
course.
an idol. idol worshiper. However, Nachmanides questions this interpretation because Esau was not wicked in his father's eyes. He further writes, perhaps Isaac thought that since Esau is a man of the field and his heart is set on the hunt, he is not one to mention the name of heaven for fear that he might mention it in some unclean place and without proper concentration. In the eyes of his father, this was considered a manifestation of his fear of heaven. In line with the simple meaning of scripture, this was because of vocal recognition. So basically, he was skeptical because the voices of Isaac and Esau are quite similar, but not similar at all. So he reasoned that he was skeptical because Esau didn't really sound like Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I feel like that'd be the giveaway.
He's also wearing his brother's dirty laundry, remember, so that he smells like Esau's sweat.
Oh! I had a commentary about the
I
smell.
have to wonder what Esau would smell like then. I'm getting under the impression it's wet.
Yeah,
and
I
icky.
remember there is a commentary by Rashi.
Oh, that's why.
And Esau came and said to his father,
Yeah. Yeah, there is a commentary by Rashi about verse 27. Rashi says, let me see.
Well, we didn't
Surely
get. Maybe I should get to verse.
yeah,
27.
we'll get to chapter
let's go.
verse 27 and then
So
we
yeah.
are in.
So he just right. Okay, I'm just finding where I was.
21.
Yeah.
21.
Come close, pray that I may feel you, my son, whether you are my son Esau or not. And Jacob came close to Isaac his father, and he felt him, and he said, the voice is the voice of Jacob, and the hands are Esau's hands. But he did not recognize him, for his hands were, like Esau's hands, hairy, and he blessed him. And he said, are you my son Esau? And he said, yeah, I am. And he said, serve me, that I may eat of the game of my son, so that I may solemnly bless you. And he served him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. And Isaac his father said to him, come close, pray, and kiss me, my son. And he came close and kissed him. And he smelled his garments, and he blessed him. And he said, see, the smell of my son is like the smell of the field that the Lord has blessed. Rude.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm assuming running around in the desert hunting would make you a little sweaty. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, like how
yeah,
does
I've
that?
mentioned.
That's I guess maybe that's why they needed the fresh meat so it wouldn't be like rotting or anything.
Well, you know
Um,
what the fresh earth smells like, especially when it's wealthy soil blessed by God. It actually smells like shit. And fertilized.
I've had a comment on Rashi, but first I apologize if I was interrupting there. But Rashi comments that first about and he smelled. Surely there is no more offensive smell than that of a washed goat's skins. But Scripture implicitly tells us that the perfume of the Garden of Eden entered the room with him.
Of course it did.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he
Of course
also
it did.
comments about the
And the lengths rabbis will go to sometimes, I swear.
yeah, and he comments about the smell of the field as well. He says, to which God has given a pleasant perfume. It refers to a field of apple trees.
Which is where you find the most game, obviously. And what this really means is that even if this was a deception and a lie, and Jacob is named a liar because of it, it should be noted that heaven blessed this lie, and so God loves lying when it gets him what he wants.
At least
we
he wasn't
also-
an idolater.
Oh yes, well,
So we also have to remember that God loves the smell of burning meat. Now maybe he also likes the smell of fresh meat, and maybe that's transferred on to Isaac here. I don't know.
and fresh skins that haven't had time to be tanned yet. That's always a good smell.
Yeah.
I
Very
don't
good.
know what kind of goats they had back then, but I don't know if any of y'all have ever smelt a goat that has been outside in the heat. They smell strong, like it knock you over. So Esau must have been a stinky man. That's my son. He smells like the field. Mom.
Yes, yeah, you smell like
Perhaps-
shit. You really are my son.
Oh, you really are Esau.
Is that a wet dog or is it Esau?
Chewbacca's sounding pretty nice now.
I got a picture of Chewbacca right now.
Your friendly atheist gives $10 and says, "Have a good stream." Thank you very much for that. And then Kicker White Lion for 50 Czech kroner says, "He should have just hunted a dinosaur. Imagine the meat from that. How do creationists explain that? Also, Czech is Czech crown, Karuna, not crone."
I remember a chick tract where
I was
there
just
was
gonna
a group
mention,
of hunters catching dinosaurs.
but
or
they're
something
like in
that.
costumes from every conceivable era, because we have to think that all the cultures of the world came from this one culture that wasn't a culture, and it just looks like everyone's in Halloween costumes. Hannah and Jake, it's part of their like over 150 different chick tract analysis from back before Hannah came out as trans. You were in the one of them, Aaron. You did
Yeah, it was in the Big Daddy.
Big Daddy, that was it. With the wonderful 6 types of evolution that Hovind invented.
Does
Hovind.
Aaron even remember that?
Vaguely. Yeah.
It's been a few years.
Yeah.
Arn is a big daddy.
I think I might have been a Christian when you made that, so.
All right, shall we continue?
Yes, so
Yes.
here's going to be the blessing that's coming up. May God grant you from the dew of the heavens and the fat of the earth and abundance of grain and drink. May peoples serve you and nations bow before you. Be overlord to your brothers. May your mother's sons bow before you. Those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you blessed. That's why it was so important. Have your brothers serving you. That's why he
Isn't
really
that-
wanted it.
Isn't that a leitmotif? I mean, in the whole Bible, like the brothers should be the slaves or of one brother.
Oh yeah, I brought this up last time, and last episode when you weren't here, Lawrence, and I brought this up several times throughout our analysis. There is a theme, a constant theme all through Genesis, of the second son being blessed by God, the elder son being cursed by God, and the ascendancy being switched, so that the second son is given dominion. It's clearly a narrative meant to justify usurpation, and it's pretty clearly it gives a feel of the lady doth protest too much, methinks.
Just a little bit.
I'm more baffled by the slaving thing, brother
Yeah.
on brother. I just don't get that.
Yeah, I mean, a brother versus. I mean, I don't know about. I'm having trouble thinking of like other slave narratives with one being a brother outside of biblical literature.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like brotherly rivalries, those are everywhere, which makes sense, right? It's a very simple story to tell, so it makes sense that it shows up all across different cultures and faiths.
And the brothers can represent different things. They're
Yeah.
not just people, they're ideas or the ascendancy of one type of life over another.
Yeah.
It's also this is a tribal patriarchal society where there is a head of household. And so that person has sort of authority over everybody else in the tribe family group. So that in that sense, even if you have a certain position as a son, if you're not taking head of household going forward, you are still subordinate to the son that takes that role.
Yeah.
So slave
And
might
all
be
the women.
oh yeah, we exist to have sons, we have no other value.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And on we go. And it happened as soon as Isaac finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob barely had left the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came back from the hunt. The drama escalates. And he too made a dish and brought it to his father, and he said to his father, "Let my father rise and eat of the game of his son, so that you may solemnly bless me." And his father Isaac said, "Oh, who are you?" I should have been doing like an old man voice for Isaac. Damn. Uh, and his father Isaac asked, who are you? And he said, I'm your son, your firstborn, Esau. And Isaac was seized with a very great trembling, and he said, "Who is it then who caught game and brought it to me? And I ate everything before you and came and blessed him. Now blessed, oh yeah, now blessed he stays." Can't take it back. Uh, when Esau heard his father's words, he cried out with a great and very bitter outcry, and he said to his father, "Bless me too, father." And he said, "Your brother has come in deceit and has taken your blessing." And he said, "Was his name called Jacob?" Probably. But yeah, anyways, I'm gonna continue. That's like half of the sentence. Was his name called Jacob, that he should trip me now twice by the heels? My birthright he took, and look, now he's taking my blessing. Damn fucking straight, Esau. You fucking tell him.
I would like to comment on verse 33 about the and he did, he will be blessed. So Midrash Tanchuma gives several explanations as to why Isaac still blessed Jacob but did not curse him. So according to Toldot 11, it reads, Isaac desired to withdraw the blessing he had conferred upon Jacob and to declare instead, indeed he will be cursed. But the Holy One, blessed be he, rebuked him, saying, What are you doing? You are in fact cursing yourself. For you said to him, May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed. He changed his mind and confirmed the blessing, saying, Indeed, he will be blessed.
And this
See,
blessing, let's not forget, has no more significance than a toast. May you grow to old age, healthy, wealthy, and wise. May the wind always be at your back.
O king, may you live forever.
Yeah,
It's
that's
I
all that is.
It's
well, of course,
words. You can
in
say them.
reality, but I maintain that this supports the idea that I mentioned earlier, that particularly, the passing on of the headship to the son, that they believed that blessings given in such a time were literally magical enchantments that could not be undone once spoken, once the ritual completed and the blessing given and received, that it couldn't be undone. It had already been given. I mean, again,
No,
this is all magical, superstitious thinking. I'm not saying, he's really blessed magically, but
But
that
why
was
can't he bless twice? That's what I don't get, because there are words, if you believe in them, and if you believe in the power of those words and the magic of those words,
right.
just say them again.
Right, so but this blessing was like, it included, your brothers will be subservient to you. So you can't say that to two brothers.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so
I
he has
have
to give him whatever he has left, which is not much to bless.
another opinion is given in Toldot 12, which reads, Isaac began to tremble and was on the verge of saying, Indeed, he will be cursed. The Holy One, blessed be he, called out to him, What do you intend to do? Do you believe that your mouth is under your control? Thereupon he reconsidered and said, Indeed, he will be blessed. Yeah. However, Nachmanides writes that this verse should be read in the present tense. He writes, Isaac is saying, who was it then, that hunted game, who could have beguiled me so that I should bless him and that he should remain blessed under all circumstances? For I knew that he is blessed, he is a blessed one. Or it may be that the expression "and indeed he shall be blessed" means against my will, since it is impossible for me to transfer the blessing from him.
And I mean, at this point, if you take it in a legal set idea of patriarchy, he's given up his role as head of the family to the next generation. So, you can't just undo that at will. At least that's where I would think that would be viewed,
Mhm.
in the understanding of that culture. So he's already done the thing. Like if you're the king of England and you abdicate in favor of someone else, you can't just go, take backsies. Take backsies. No, I crossed my fingers behind my back. I didn't mean it.
Right. Yeah. Like it's kind of like the whole you can't be tried twice for the same crime
Mm.
kind of deal there.
Once
So
the precedent
about-
has been set, it's set.
So about verse 35, which says, your brother came deceitfully. So Targum Onkelos translates the word deceitfully as with cleverness, to avoid the depiction of Jacob as a deceitful guy. And Rashi accepts this translation. However, Ibn Ezra writes that he did not speak the truth. And surprisingly, there are several midrashim who denounce Jacob's deception. For example, in Tanchuma Balak 18, it reads, a quote from Numbers 23:8, how can I curse those whom God has not cursed? When they deserved to be cursed, they were not cursed. When Jacob went in to receive the blessings, his father said to him, who is it? He said to him, I am Esau, your firstborn. Does not the one who puts forth a lie with his mouth deserves to be cursed? And again in
Yes.
Tanchuma Vayetze 11, it reads, all night she, aka Leah, pretended to be Rachel. When he, Jacob, I think, arose in the morning, read from Genesis 29:25, there was Leah. He said to her, daughter of a swindler, why did you trick me? She said to him, and you, why did you trick your father? When he said to you, is this my son Esau? You said to him, I am Esau, your firstborn. Now you are saying, why have you tricked me?
I mean,
What a
it's
tangled web we weave when
indeed. And I respect commentators who are honest enough to say, no, this was deceptive and therefore wrong, more than those who are willing to invent any number of magical gymnastics to pretend that it was somehow the right thing to do.
Right. But you also have to remember that they're taking from traditions that have probably already existed for a while, because that's the whole point of the midrash was it was the oral tradition that wasn't it wasn't written down until like way later.
Mhm.
So they believe that this stuff was like, it's just as old. And I'm thinking, no, it's not just as old. It's still old, but when people started actually questioning, because like Jews aren't like adverse to questioning things. So
No, they're not like Christians with you just questioned God, you're going to be damned.
right, exactly. But Jews, they see the problems, they question them, and then they come up with a variety of different explanations for that. Sometimes it's an excuse. More than not, it's an excuse.
Well, actually, and the explanation is actually in Hebrew. Terutz is an excuse. Translates to modern Hebrew, excuse. Yeah.
That's
very
awesome.
good, very good. But yeah, the cleverness and deceitfulness thing, those were in plenty of different languages, Greek included. Those were often used synonymously. There was
That's a lot.
literally the same word that was used
That's a
for
lot.
both meanings.
So, so it's important to know the values that they had in order to just, I don't know, if we see it now as cheating and lying, and maybe at that time doing that, if there's no other way to escape that faith, because you don't have another way to escape that faith of being your brother's slave. It's normal that you take any chance you have to not do that, to not become the slave, but to
Mhm.
become the powerful one.
This
And
is
maybe,
this is the power that the head patriarch had.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that the only way around it was deceit, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so if the patriarch, the next patriarch takes over and he's not cunning enough, he's going to lose all the inheritance from the parents, from the lineage, right? I mean, maybe it was considered something, well, justfully he took what he wanted.
Because he could get it, and that meant he was strong enough to lead. Although,
Exactly.
in fairness, the version I heard as a young Christian was more of a redemption arc. Jacob is deceitful and it wasn't right what he did, but God's purposes were still served anyway. And then we see through the next following chapters, which will take several weeks, how he, becomes more honest and a better person and then
Okay.
returns. And that's one narrative you can draw from the story. It's not the only one, certainly.
All
There's
right.
there's a lot of that in mythology. The trickster, and like Prometheus. I think I think it was Prometheus tricked Zeus into accepting the bad parts of the sacrifice rather than the meat, the good parts, because he disguised it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually
The
just
problem
talking
I'm
about
getting
that.
with this story, and how I don't understand how anybody could be credulous enough to believe this, is the touching the boy to, okay, well, it's got Jacob's voice, but let me feel your hands. Why don't you just throw in the words, you know but my, what big eyes you have,
That's
Grandma.
what I was thinking. The better to see you with.
Come closer.
All right, so continue, please.
Yes. And Isaac, and he said, "Have you not kept back a blessing for me?" And Isaac answered and said to Esau, "Look, I made him overlord to you and all his brothers. I gave him as slaves, and with grain and wine I endowed him. For you, then, what can I do, my son?"
Wait. You allowed one of your sons to enslave your other sons?
Yes.
Why the hell am I feeding you?
Yeah. Well, he wanted it, right?
The only power is absolute power in this world. I'm sorry. You're the slave or you're the king. These are the only options.
I would like to mention that Ibn Ezra writes that the brothers in the blessings are the sons of the mistresses. So it's not Esau. It's not.
Well, it says brothers. It doesn't.
Yeah, but Ibn Ezra.
Admittedly, I'm wondering what other brothers he has dominion over, but it wouldn't be out of character for there to be an unnamed concubine or two with unknown numbers of children who were basically slaves.
Right, absolutely. Although it would be really weird then. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and say that Ibn Ezra was wrong on this one, because in not just is that like not noted, it doesn't say that, but also you wouldn't have this question being posed by Isaac himself, like, what else can I do for you? Like, I got nothing else to offer. So I feel like that would be very out of place if he just meant the sons of the concubines.
Yeah.
Maybe he meant all the members of the household. I mean, it was
in the translation of Esau's interpretation, it reads Abraham's concubines, Genesis 25:6. Ibn Ezra interprets brethren in the sense of relatives, or Ibn Ezra assumed that Isaac had concubines.
There were mentioned the wives, another wife that Abraham had like half a dozen kids with in his old age.
Yeah, I'm sure that he had
Ketulah, I think.
concubines, but I'm just saying it would include one of those sons or one of those brothers he was referring to would include Esau.
Yes, certainly. It would.
So and Esau said to his father, "Do you have but one blessing, my father? Bless me too, father." And Esau raised his voice and he wept. And Isaac, his father, answered and said to him, "Look, from the fat of the earth from the fat of the earth be your dwelling, and from the dew of the heavens above. By your sword shall you live, and your brother shall serve you. And when you rebel, you shall break off his yoke from your neck." And Esau seethed with resentment against Jacob over the blessing his father had blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, "As soon as the time for mourning my father comes around, I will kill Jacob my brother." And Rebekah was told the words of Esau, her elder son. Yeah, elder son. And she sent and summoned Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, well, I guess before we get into this, it looks like the story is shifting here. So before we get to that, he is given, I guess, the right to break away from it. I guess that was really
Mhm.
all Isaac could do.
Give him the
So
right
it's
to
for
stand up for
sure he
himself.
would.
He's going for it. Yeah. He's going
Now he's serious. Before he's like blessing, smashing. I want this lentil soup, you know. But now he's like, when you play a Game of Thrones, you play to win or you die. Now he's serious. He's game on.
Now, yeah.
Yeah, about verse 39, which reads, away from the earth's richness.
Yeah.
So Rashi writes that this refers to the Greek portions of Italy, i.e. Magna Graecia. However, David Kimchi writes that this refers to Mount Seir.
I thought it
Yeah.
was just because he had already given all of heaven's dew and earth's riches to Jacob that he had to then deny them to Esau.
Hmm.
Because he has control over those things with his magical enchantments.
Yeah. And when about the have we read verse 42?
yes, I did.
Okay, so when Rebecca was told, so Rashi comments that she was told by the Holy Spirit what Esau was thinking in his heart. Yeah, I know, Lawrence.
Right, because you wouldn't just hear a angry man ranting in a land of tents.
Yeah,
That and plus she was listening in beforehand. She could have been listening in now, although it doesn't say that she was listening. She said that she heard it.
yeah,
In
and
the
Chizkuni-
Romanian version, it says someone told Rebecca. It doesn't say
yeah.
who, but someone.
Yeah,
told.
Chizkuni also says that he writes that he was saying this quite openly, and someone told Rebecca what Esau said.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the household had slaves, and people do
Exactly.
gossip, especially
Yeah.
when they don't have cable. You
Mm.
got to do something.
Yeah.
Continuing on here. Let's see how this conversation goes. Yeah, so
Hold on. Before we have to get a couple of comments I should have read.
sure.
Vincent Walden Riviera says, "Are you guys referring to Aesop the Greek fabulist?"
I like that name.
Are we referring to Aesop? I don't think we were talking about Aesop.
Not really.
Okay,
I
and
mean-
then Trevorn Wright says, "Why is it that in the Bible text the God Yahweh is believed the only true God, but was always filled with wrath and was defeated by a pagan god? How then can he still be all powerful?" I'm not sure what this reference is. When was Jehovah defeated by a pagan god?
Not in.
Oh, that'll come in the future. Iron chariots and all that.
Oh, right. The Iron Chariot.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, it didn't exactly say he was defeated by another god, but the Iron Chariots were a problem. I actually go over the Iron Chariot thing in my Heavenly Horseman video.
Beautiful.
But it's really fascinating the strength that horses specifically had, actually, because if you got a lot of horses, it means you got a fucking army. So it was very representative of that. That's why horsemen are so. That's why, especially when you get to like the four horsemen and the ones in Zechariah as well. You get to that stuff and you are like, this was very important. And then, okay,
I
you know,
like the Good Omens
not
version.
not gonna spoil the video for you, but yeah. So essentially, he wasn't really defeated by a pagan god, right? But this was some new fangled tech for them that they just could not overcome. And
But in those days, I mean, the victory of the gods was the victory of their people. So in a sense, you could say he was defeated. But I mean, at this point, God isn't omnipotent yet. That sort of comes in later. I recommend reading The Evolution of God. I found that book very informative.
He's also an insecure god and I am a jealous god. So like he felt threatened by other gods.
How can you be omnipotent and jealous?
It's he's got a big ego. That's about it. That's all I can say.
I would like to point out that there are many people who claim to be very, very powerful, and that the attributes of Omni whatever are taken from God's own bragging. Now, if we were to look at politicians and think of those who say that they are in fact the greatest ever and have done the most for certain groups of people, and that their inauguration ceremonies had more people than anyone had ever had, and then we were to look at the actual factual realities of those things as measurable, the greater the bragging, the less the actual practical reality. So I'm just saying maybe the same principle applies.
Okay. All right, let's continue.
Yep. So this is what she's saying to Jacob. Look, Esau, your brother, is consoling himself with the idea he will kill you. So now, my son, listen to my voice and rise. Flee to my brother Laban in Haran, and you may stay with him a while until your brother's wrath subsides. Until your brother's rage against you subsides, and he forgets what you did to him, and I shall send and fetch you from there. Why should I be bereft of both of you both on one day?
So
he's not going to forget.
This woman pit her own sons against each other,
and then she's surprised.
Yeah,
that one is mad.
And thinks he's going to forget he's going to be a slave for the rest of his life.
And his father enslaved all of his sons to, or mistresses, sons, half sons, whatever. He's enslaving his own children to their brethren.
Yes.
This family values in the Bible?
Family Christian values.
Oh, we're not quite.
Yeah, wasn't made.
That still hurts me.
This is still Jewish, so Tomer, you got to own this one.
Well, to be fair, the Torah laws have not been created. I think we've only gone through one commandment from the 613 commandments.
Yeah, we're not quite there yet, but
yeah.
Still, we're laying out blessings and rituals at this point. Like, we are laying down quite the foundation. So
I got another comment. This is, I have no idea how to say this. Psychologic, Vorbind. Question for Oana. Did you felt hurt or aggressive by the patriarchal society and the Orthodox dogma? They can be pretty harsh.
Yeah, well, psychologic Vorbind. It's a Romanian.
Okay.
For psychologically speaking. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah, I did feel aggressed by, especially by the Orthodox dogma and the patriarchal society in Romania. Growing up was, I saw the differences between me and my brother, what he was allowed to do and what I wasn't allowed to do, just because I was a girl. So that's when I started to pay attention to all these differences. And then, well, the Orthodox thing is, affected me a lot, like for my sexuality and how what virginity is, and why would I be a virgin when I'm married and I really should be married, and obey my husband and things like that, which I never actually did.
Yeah. Have to admit, nobody nobody really married me with the expectation that well, maybe they wanted me to obey, but they weren't paying much attention if they thought that.
Exactly.
Like, have you met me?
Yeah, yeah. Well, in Romania, it's better and better every day.
Good.
And I think we're on the right track.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Gonna do this last line here. And Rebecca said to Isaac, I loathe my life because of the Hittite women. If Jacob takes a wife from Hittite women like these, from the native girls, what good to me is life? Now.
This this
Isn't
is
that
the woman who's
overreacting a
pitting her
bit?
sons against each other, robbing one, you cheating her sons. She's the soap opera star in this.
Well, she's doing what women have always done when we were not allowed to have any actual power or anonymity. We have an idea, and then we convince a man that it was his idea.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
how we've survived for thousands of years.
Yeah, but I think it would have been much easier for her if she just told Isaac, God came to me and told him that not the firstborn, but the secondborn is going to be blessed. And God
Well,
told me that.
why
And
would God talk to a woman?
Yeah, well.
So this is an interesting comment from Alter. Instead of simply registering that Jacob ought not to take a wife from the daughters of the Canaanites, she brandishes a sense of utter revulsion, claiming that her life is scarcely worth living because of the native daughters-in-law Esau has inflicted on her. This tactic not only provides a persuasive pretext for Jacob's departure, but also allows her, obliquely, for she does not pronounce his name, to discredit Esau.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a power play, and it gets her what she wants, which is Jacob to leave with his father's blessing and everything above board, and therefore not be murdered by his brother.
I've got to wonder what's so wrong with the Hittite women. I mean,
They weren't his
Rebecca apparently
cousins.
is no prize.
I remember I've commented that some commentators say that they were a cursed tribe, but I don't know in what sense they were cursed.
Yeah, there hasn't been a backstory on the Hittites specifically thus far that I've noticed. There's
Because
been
who cares
character
about the
assassination on the Moabites, the Ammonites, the
love the
Edomites to a degree with Esau already. But the Hittites, nothing yet. They're just bad because they're from Canaan and worship other gods, and therefore they're evil. But I mean, as we established, they aren't his cousin. We can't have that.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I remember, the Canaanites are hated because of Noah and the curse.
Right. Another case of cursing children to slavery because of something really random and stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Which again has no more significance than a toast.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but this is the magically enchanted
it's God's
backstory.
blessing. It's God's blessing, so
yeah, God lends his powers to all the crazy, angry old men with really poor decision-making skills because they'll do whatever he tells them.
All right, so Genesis 28 is only 22 chapters.
Yeah, I also have my comments for 28.
Okay, shall we?
So.
Yeah, I got I do have quite a bit on 28, more than usual.
All right. Do you want to continue reading, or should we switch up?
I can continue reading. That's
okay.
That should be fine. Let me just pull up. I need to note what verses I'll be stopping at here.
I have a word.
You have what?
I have word. I meant to say that. Never mind.
Okay.
I wanted to be superior than you, but it failed.
I have word. All right.
Ah,
I love all of you, by the way.
Yeah, sounds
In a
totally legit
platonic way.
there.
Yeah.
All right. Gonna get started here. Chapter 28. And Isaac summoned Jacob and blessed him, and man, again, but probably not again. This is probably this seems like a weird textual thing though. This seems like either like just like a summary, or if he's blessing him again, that would be kind of a dick move after all this, without explanation. But anyways, I'll continue.
Just all you got to do is subtly change the initial blessing. But on his 16th birthday, he will put his finger on the needle of a spinning wheel.
and Esau will inherit all. That would have been clever. Apparently, since he's a mama's boy, it could have actually happened too. But I was going to note that at least in my what I've highlighted here, this part appears to be from another source, and we have a bit of a stitching together of multiple accounts here. That's what I get for using the background. I can't show you my highlighting job. But there is that argument has been made as well, that there's some stitching together of sources here, which, I mean, that's how you end up with Genesis. So
Right. I also have our altar notes that the Hebrew has the more everyday sense of to greet. I'm gonna pronounce this wrong, so Tomer, I'm sure you're gonna hop up and down. So the Hebrew verb barek.
Oh, it's awful, awful, awful,
Yeah,
awful.
exactly. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has the more everyday sense of to greet, but it is quite unnecessary to construe it in that sense. So I guess they're going for. So yeah, he does choose bless as the as like a parting blessing.
Yeah.
But anyways, this is what he's commanding him, right? And blessed him and commanded him and said to him, "You shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Rise, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take you from there a wife from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother, and may El Shaddai, one of the many names for God, bless you and make you fruitful and multiply, so that you become an assembly of peoples. And may he grant you the blessing of Abraham to you and your seed as well, that you may take hold of the land of your sojournings, which God granted to Abraham." So
May your children receive all the blessings of whenever first cousins marry.
yes.
So wait a minute.
ding, 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 ding.
For me, I mean, in the Romanian version, it's. I have also a note here for the meaning of the land in which now you live is as a stranger. And so, if Abraham received what God said he would give to Abraham, why is he a stranger in those lands?
Well, it's not written that he's a stranger in these lands.
Yeah, but it is implied by the text that they are still strangers in Canaan. And I mean, the idea is the justification that if it eventually happens to your descendants, then the promise was somehow kept. But in reality, God makes promises to Abraham, breaks every one, makes all the same promises to his son, breaks every one, makes all the same promises to his son, breaks every one. God doesn't ever have to keep his word as long as something vaguely in the vicinity of what he said would happen happens to one of your distant descendants someday for a little while.
Lilith, we need to make a video about the paragraph you just said.
I am at your disposal, sir. Because God's plan always fails, and he never gives you what you were promised, and thus you are always left to contrive a way to tell yourself that he really did. And that is my experience as a Christian. That is my study of scriptures. That is the whole history of this awful, awful, awful character and all of his supposed interactions that I have ever seen or heard of.
including what
And he
happened to the
works
Blues
in
Brothers.
Yeah. The poor Blues Brothers.
yeah, and he works in mysterious ways. If you don't
Oh,
understand, it's mysterious.
Right, right. I who was it? Was it Jim Jeffries who said, "What is mysterious about being a total fucking asshole?" It's not mysterious. You're just a dick.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, shall we continue, please?
Sounds good. So yeah, he's just told his son to go off and get himself a good wife and get the blessing from God. And Isaac sent Jacob off and went to Padanaram to Laban, son of Bethuel the Aramean, brother of Rebekah, mother of Jacob and Esau. And Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and had sent him off to Padanaram to take him a wife from there, when he blessed him and charged him, saying, "You shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan." And Jacob listened to his father and to his mother, and he went to Padanaram. And Esau saw that the daughters of Canaan were evil in the eyes of Isaac and his father, and Esau went to Ishmael, and he took Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, son of Abraham, in addition to his wives, as a wife. So it seems like he
You forgot.
let it go. Why are you
forgot-
letting it go?
You forgot the sister of Nevayot.
Yes, the sister of Nebaioth, the daughter of Ishmael. So, it's he's trying to be a good boy and gain favor again. So he did what good boys do and married his cousin.
Yeah. About verse 5. The mother of Jacob and Esau. I like Rush's comment here. He says that he doesn't know why this description was added. Yes.
Okay.
And Chizkuni gives two explanations for this. First, the Torah had to write this so that you won't wonder how an evil person as Esau came out of two righteous people as Isaac and Rebekah. As Chazal said from Bava Batra 110, most sons resemble their mother's brother. So Esau resembled Lavan, the brother of his mother. Another explanation is that the Torah wants the reader to know that Rebekah did what she did for the benefit of both children, as seen in Genesis 27:45. Now, Aaron, as someone who is qualified in basic genetics, do most sons resemble their mother's brother?
I am not qualified in genetics.
Joffrey did.
Yeah. And that's the first time I've ever heard that one. What I have heard is, male pattern baldness follows that pattern, but no, and I don't even know about that.
I have heard that male pattern baldness comes through the female line as well. Admittedly, I don't recall the source, so I don't know how good it was. It's one of those things floating around in the ether. But yeah, unless it's a Lannister, I wasn't familiar that was a typical thing to see in children. But what do I know?
Okay. Now in verse 9, about.
Oh, by the way, there's a comment from Frederick Agerbo. Says, Tomer, take that Platonic back. You are ruining my erotic blasphemers Bible fan fiction.
Put it on AO3, Frederick. Put it on AO3 where we can find it.
You are giving people ideas. About verse 9, about Machalat, the sister of Nebaioth. So, Targum Jonathan and Bereshit Rabbah 67:13 claim that Machalat is Basemath from Genesis 26. According to Bereshit Rabbah, she was called Machalat because God forgave Machal, Esau, for his sins. And the name Basemat indicates that his mind was now satisfied, as Basemat is not clearly, is similar to Nitbasem, literally means perfumed, because the root word for perfume is bosem. Machalat could also derive from machala, which means illness or disease.
So, when you guys said that I forgot the sister part, I was like, huh? Because my Alter's translation, and keep in mind he's translating the Masoretic text, his translation doesn't have that in there. It doesn't have
Oh.
that.
Really?
It was exactly as I read it in his version, or at least in the Masoretic text, as far as I can see from what he has presented. But interestingly, I checked the Septuagint, Greek Septuagint here, and it does say uh, sister of Nabaioth. Yeah, it does say that.
Yeah, in the
Interesting.
Jewish Bible, it does say it's a sister of Nebaioth. So
In the Romanian Bible too.
Yeah, so it's interesting that it's not in his translation of the Masoretic, but it is in the Septuagint.
It does feel like they're trying to tie into something that's possibly not included in this text. Maybe there's stories of Nevaioth somewhere else in some.
Maybe some genealogy.
For sure. I don't understand how come he knows Ismail. How come he knows where to find him? Wasn't Ismail banished like ages ago?
Yeah, but he survived and apparently got married and had a bunch of kids. So
God works in mysterious ways.
Okay.
So going off to the next section here, and Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran, and he came upon a certain place and stopped there for the night, for the sun had set. And he took one of the stones of the place and put it at his head, and he lay down in that place, and he dreamed. And look, a ramp was set against the ground, with its top reaching the heavens. And look, messengers of God were going up and coming down it. So, of course, this ramp, the Hebrew term occurs only here. Although its etymology is doubtful, the traditional rendering of ladder is unlikely, as has often been observed. The references to both its top reaching the heavens and the gate of heaven, and the gate of the heavens, use phrases associated with the Mesopotamian ziggurat, and so the structure envisioned is probably a vast ramp with terraced landings.
So sort of like a stairway, but not quite.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, going up.
You know what? It's probably an escalator.
You know what? You're right. A divine escalator. I like it.
God has to get the jump on technology a bit. But what's being timeless worth if you can't at least get yourself a decent escalator?
My favorite quote from any movie: God isn't interested in technology. He has no comprehension of the silicon of the microchip or the Silicon Revolution. Look how he spends his time. 43 species of parrots.
yeah.
I'm trying to get a purple one.
Aaron, you love parrots.
That quote continues: if I was a supreme being, I wouldn't muck about with butterflies and daffodils. I'd have started with lasers. 8 o'clock, day one.
Yeah. So about verse 11, about reached a certain place. So in the it's read as such in the NIV, reached a certain place. More accurately is he reached the place. Rashbam comments that it was a certain place, not a descriptive one. Rashi comments that this refers to Mount Moriah, and it is also referred to as the place in Genesis 22:4, Mount Moriah. Even Ezra writes that Moses, in writing the Torah, wanted to indicate the place that was well known in his time, and this is Beth El, which we'll see later on that he names this place Beth El.
I have that note in the Romanian Bible also.
Yeah, which means house of God, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
House of El, House of God. Yeah. Now about the dream of Jacob. So several commentators try to understand what the dream symbolizes. Rashi and Nachmanides comment that the dream is meant to symbolize God's protection over Jacob. Rashi writes that this was done by the angels, and Nachmanides writes that this was done by God. According to the Midrashic text Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer 35, this dream is meant to symbolize the history of the nation of Israel and the land of Israel. Each angel represents a kingdom of Babel, Greece, Medes, and Edom. And when an angel rises, it represents a golden age, and when an angel comes down, it represents a dark age. Ibn Ezra comments that Jacob's dream teaches that nothing is hidden from God, and that what happens below is contingent on the decree from above.
Took his fucking time with penicillin, didn't he?
All right. Yes, he did. And I'm going to continue here. So yes, he's seeing these angels going up and down. This ramp, or however you want to envision it.
Mhm.
Got another
And
comment. James Hogue says, I watched the documentary about Pakistanis who still practice first cousin marriage, 50 to 60%, and they have a major problem with their children born with recessive gene disorder.
Yeah.
Sad.
Mm.
yeah, that is unfortunate.
That's gonna
And it
happen,
compounds.
Yeah.
You know, you can get away with one first cousin marriage here or there, but if you just keep doing that,
Yeah.
You get a royal family.
yes,
Get the Lannisters.
And look, the Lord was poised over him, and he said, I, the Lord, am the God of Abraham your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, to you I will give it, and to your seed. And your seed shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall burst forth to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south, and all the clans of the earth shall be blessed through you and through your seed. And look, I am with you, and I will guard you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done that which I have spoken to you. Well then,
Yeah.
I guess we'll see how that turns out, huh?
Yeah. So I'm just wondering how the Aborigines and the Native Americans, South America, how are these blessed through? Because it says all the clans.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
but
you
that would
see,
be all the ones in
eventually
here.
Christianity would come, and then the conquistadors would come and genocide them all in the name of God, and that was their blessing.
I'm just wondering about what is the direct. So it's implying that the Picts and the Celts, are all descendants of this group.
Let me find if there are commentators who speak about this. What verse were you talking about?
So I just finished
14.
his speech. Was that in?
Verse 14.
Yep.
Okay, let me see if there
I
are.
have a note here in the Romanian Bible that it's with the meaning of families. Of the family, yeah, the tribe of the family. It's more family related.
No, I don't really see some commentator talking about this.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Just looks like this is the promise that's being given, right? Because
Over and over.
the last blessing was about him, uh, the blessing extending, to him and his seed, in the beginning of the chapter, and it looks like exactly that thing is happening here. Wow, would you look at that?
Mm.
So, anyways, and Jacob awoke from his sleep, and he said, Indeed, the Lord is in this place, and I did not know. And he was afraid. And he said, How fearsome is this place! This can be but the house of God, and this is the gate of the heavens. And Jacob rose early in the morning, and took the stone he had put at his head, and he set it as a pillar, and poured oil over its top. So, just a cultic pillar, I guess. They had a whole bunch of these.
Anointed. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what were they called? oh my god, I keep getting it confused with the thing in Egypt. Was it the Masaba? I think where the name.
Mastaba?
Well, there's one with a T, and then there's one without one. Uh, the one if it's Mastaba, I think that's the kind of tomb in Egypt.
Okay.
And if it's I think it's Masaba. That is the name that's used for the high places, right? Or am I mixing that up with something? The word that's
It
used for
seems.
high places in the Deuteronomistic history, because they had the standing stones there for worship.
Hmm. It seems like it. It's like a raised. It looks like a raised tomb or something like that. Type of Egyptian.
Yeah.
Yeah, flat roofed rectangular structure with inward sloping sides constructed out of mud bricks.
And what word am I thinking of? Okay. Uh, Either way, there's I'm thinking of whatever is used for uh, the cultic stones.
Where you have
Obelisk?
Places.
like a
Like an
standing.
obelisk?
No, not like an obelisk. No.
Atzeva?
I'm
So I'm
thinking
getting a vibe more like Stonehenge in the sense of standing stones placed
Stela, maybe?
for
Estelle?
I'm gonna have to look back into it.
cult purposes.
But either way,
And isn't that
I'm still having
stone
trouble.
called?
I'm still wrestling with the idea of using a rock as a pillow.
yeah, it's gotta suck. It's gotta suck.
Yeah. About we've read verse 16, right?
Yeah.
Okay, about the Lord is in this place. So Ibn Ezra writes that the meaning of this statement is that there are places where miracles are seen, i.e., that there are places where God's presence is more manifest than in others.
Mhm.
And in verse 17, where he says he was afraid, Rashi, Sfono, and David Kimche comment that he was afraid because he understood that he's in a holy site, and he feared that he might have committed blasphemy either by sleeping or on the place, or by not preparing for the prophecy, whatever that means. And the gate of heaven, Rashi comments that the gate of heaven is a place of prayer where the prayers would ascend to heaven.
So it's sort of a invisible spiritual hotspot.
Could be.
you know what's funny? There's I forget which one it is, but there's an apocalyptic text. I think so. It might be the Apocalypse of Abraham. Um,
Oh, I
there
heard that one.
was, or it might have been in Third Enoch. I forget, but in one apocryphal book that we read, it said that the clouds blocked out the prayers, so they gave like no
Okay.
service.
Yeah, no signal. I can't get a signal to God here.
Just like when
Yeah.
you try to pray when you're driving through a tunnel.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
needs to upgrade to the 5G network. He's going on very old Wi-Fi, and it's not cutting it.
No.
So we got another comment. Scott Weber for $10 says, "While this is going on, the real history is much more interesting, such as the relationship of the Hittites and the Egyptians. They actually created the first written peace agreement."
Ooh, nice.
And then Trevorn Wright says, "Do you trust the Septuagint contains historical information and reliable source? And do you think that the biblical narrative according to the Septuagint is true or false?"
Well, I mean, the biblical narrative isn't that all that much different. It's just another manuscript. It's another manuscript tradition. Uh, the copyists for the Septuagint would have had access to different manuscripts than we do now.
Mhm.
So it just acts as another witness, textually
Mhm.
speaking. So it's not necessarily more true or false. It's just another witness.
It's another piece in the puzzle.
Someone Kayana commented, says Yahweh uses Comcast.
Oh, yeah. That's
We didn't read verse 18, right?
Well,
yeah, we did.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
You did. Okay. So the poured oil on top of it. Ibn Ezra wrote that he poured oil so that he would recognize it when he returned to it. Rashbam, Chizkuni, and Bacher ben Asher wrote that Jacob made it ready to offer sacrifices on it when he would return to that site.
pouring oil on things and anointing them with oil is a, you know, magical ritual that well, it's found all throughout Hebrew literature for kings and sacred people and objects. And it, you know, it was adopted by evangelical Christians who will go around their workplace. I heard a story, someone had told this story in a Bible study of how they went around their workplace before anyone was there, anointing all the doors with oil in the sign of the cross and praying away the evil influences because someone had brought some New Age magazines to leave in case anyone felt like reading them. So they had to, you know.
And then nobody could open the doors because the doorknobs were all covered in WD-40.
But where did he get the oil from?
I mean, presumably he
Probably
brought some supplies with him.
Yeah.
Like he has oil, but he doesn't have a pillow. He
Yeah.
uses
Yeah.
a stone for a pillow.
And what do you do with your pillow? You pour oil on it, don't you?
Yeah.
I know I do.
Great minds. All right. Continuing on here. And he called the name of that place Bethel, though the name of the town before had been Luz. And Jacob made a vow, saying, "If the Lord God be with me and guard me on this way that I'm going, and give me bread to eat and clothing to wear, and I return safely to my father's house, then the Lord will be my God. And this stone that I set as a pillar will be a house of God, and everything that you give me, I will surely tithe it to you." So, this is stands out as a cultic ideology. So I do have a few notes here. So Blum identifies the original tradition unit as a cult foundation legend, an ideology of the sanctuary at Bethel traced back to the ancestor of the people. This suggestion also goes back to Westerman, who cites the parallel in Genesis 32, 2 through 3, where we have the following similarities. In both cases, the events take place in the course of a journey. Jacob encounters angels of God. Jacob gives a similar response using the demonstrative "this is," and Jacob names the place. It may further be noted that the introduction to both stories, Genesis 28:10 and 32:1, belong to the larger story into which they have been integrated. Finally, Genesis 32, 2 through 3, does not make any mention of Yahweh together with the angels. If we accept the view, as seems quite reasonable, that we have in Genesis 28:10 through 22 a cult ideology that has been modified by later additions, then the earliest form of this tradition would be reflected in verses 11 through 12, the first part of 16, and 17 through 19. Then he goes on to talk about the textual significance and but yeah, the word I was thinking of was masaba in verse 22, right? Was it
Matzeva,
sorry,
yes.
sorry, not in verse
22, you're right.
yeah.
Yeah, the
So that was what I was thinking.
standing stone for worship.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. That's what was at the high places.
Mhm.
So it's interesting that that's used here. Furthermore, my note on the whole thing in general. So the last part of the divine speech moves in, and just so everyone knows what I'm quoting from, this is a prologue to history. The Yahwist as historian in Genesis. This is by John Van Setters. Very good author. I highly recommend his work. So the last part of the divine speech moves in quite a new direction and gives to Jacob the promise of divine presence and guidance on his journey and restoration in the land. This is closely related to the circumstances of the story and constitutes an important theme within it, to which, he's going to get back to it at some point in the text, but I'm not going to read that part. There are, however, two important issues that must be addressed. First, the promise of divine presence is confirmed by the further statement for I will not leave you until I have done that about which I have spoken to you. That's in 28, that's 15. As Blum has shown, this phraseology is so characteristic of Deuteronomistic language that it must be understood in that context. It is used primarily in terms of the fulfillment of the land promise and the establishment of Israel as God's people, or the fulfillment of God's promises to David. This means that the author of Genesis 28 also has in mind the larger destiny of the people. He is not merely thinking of Jacob's return, but is associating that prospect with the people's own return from exile. One can hardly avoid the conclusion that Jacob's adventure is being used as a paradigm for the exilic period and the people's experiences at that time.
Yeah, I mean that definitely makes a lot of sense. There is a constant, recurring themes set up throughout the literature to reassure people and make them feel that they're part of a greater narrative that is destined to have the outcome of them returning home and reclaiming their lands and yada yada yada. So it makes a lot of sense in that context, and the themes have always been there, and that's why they're often argued that they're prophetic, and it's very easy to write prophecy after the event has occurred quite accurately. Look at that.
And it happens not just in Judaism and
Oh, no.
Christianity, but it happens in Hinduism and a number of other places too.
Oh, yeah.
So I wanted to comment about the Luz, the city that is that will be named Bethel. So in Bereshit Rabbah 69:8 gives several reasons why it was called Luz. So it reads, Rabbi Abba Bar Kahana said, "Why was it called Luz?
Because
Whoever
the
entered
people who lived there were losers.
Rabbi Aharon Rabinovich said, I guess. Whoever entered it blossomed forth into mitzvot and good deeds like a luz, a nut tree. Luz is also the Hebrew name for a hazelnut. The rabbi said, as the nut has no mouth, i.e., opening, so no man could discover the entrance of the town. Rabbi Simon said, a nut tree stood at the entrance to the city. Rabbi Elazar said, in the name of Rabbi Pinchas ben Chama, a nut tree stood at the entrance of a cave. This tree was hollow, and through it one entered the cave, and through the cave into the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Another comment from Trevor Wright. Do you think that the biblical narrative, according to the Septuagint, needs correction when referring to Egypt? And is there evidence for Pithom and Ramses?
Hold on. The
I
biblical
think we're
narrative.
jumping ahead of ourselves. That
Exodus.
sounds like the narrative of the lands built, the cities
Well,
built by the slaves.
Ramses, absolutely. There are a whole bunch of different Ramses, right? They're just not, they're not exactly numbered in, or at least we don't, it would have been Ramses II, right? The one in the biblical narrative, I think.
Yeah,
Wait,
I think that's the how I think majority of scholars say.
That was the popular one, certainly.
Yeah,
I believe, if memory serves, the reference to Pithom and Ramses is later in the narrative about the Exodus, where they talk about the Jewish slaves had built the cities of Pithom and Ramses specifically. There was, after the, Fitzgerald and Silberman's work and the Bible's Buried Secrets Nova documentary came out with all the scholarship on how, that's not the actual origin of the people, that's the mythological origin of the people, and here's what the actual origin is. There was later a Christian attempt to rebut this by researching and massaging the narrative to try and this guy's not a scholar, he's just someone who doesn't want to give up his belief system. So he went cherry picking around to various scholars and put together a narrative that said maybe this actually all happened much earlier than we thought, and it was whatever the cities were previously named, and the names were just passed down, and yada yada yada. And so it's yeah, it was intended as a kind of a rebuttal. It, let's just say, did not meet a scholarly level, but it provided a justification for those who were desperately searching for one.
So, as to whether or not this is a Septuagint text, then like I'm not sure. I haven't read that part in the Septuagint, at least. However, I think once we get to that point, I'll have more commentary, and I'll be able to have the Septuagint text ready, and I'll translate on my own, I guess. And
I'll
then
look up the name of that.
yeah, but once we get to that, I should have more stuff to note on it, on if it was like an addition or not. But it's totally possible.
All right, do we have any more comments on this?
So I was
No.
wondering if why is it? So we start like this is a dream that someone had, and because someone had a dream, a real place should now be considered holy.
Yes.
Well,
Why?
just like when you make a toast to your son, that toast comes true.
Yeah, but those are those are real
Yeah.
wishes.
Yeah,
It's like dreaming about having a toast and
in
the
other
toast.
monarchies, secession a lot of times can be decided by the reigning king. So
well, I think with regard to dreams, dreams were in this narrative and in other narratives all throughout Scripture, and I believe also in the times themselves, considered to be potentially sacred. Not all of your dreams, but dreams were a way that the supernatural could interact with you. And this vision of the magical escalator would give the idea that this location is perhaps sacred, and that the veil is thinner here between the spiritual world and the physical, and perhaps you're more susceptible to dreams, or it's easier for God to contact you, or whatever. But we do see, in the dreams of the Pharaoh, in the dreams of Nebuchadnezzar, in the dreams of Joseph, that dreams can be considered a form of sacred supernatural communication, and thus have significance, at least if they're ones that can be interpreted. And then if the interpretation comes true, you are getting a message from the divine, which isn't convenient at all. What is confirmation bias? Never heard of her. But I mean, in fairness, authors frequently use dreams as a form of foreshadowing, or a way to address the character's feelings slightly more indirectly than just having them talk to their therapist in front of you all the time, which is a little too, to tell, not enough show. So it's a literary device, but I think it was also a belief in the supernatural capacity of dreams to be prophetic and to indicate what they perceived as supernatural realities. Yeah.
Okay.
We have another comment I want to address. Celian D says, if I'm correct, the time Egypt had Hebrew slaves was Ramses III, whose scribes made counts of about 10,000.
I don't remember there being anything about Hebrews ever being slaves in Egypt.
Well, that was my position, and also wasn't it supposed to be Ramses II?
Right.
There were never any
and
records.
we're not saying that there's evidence of Hebrew slaves. That was the time that, to my understanding, most apologists would say that that the Exodus was supposed to have happened.
Yeah,
that is the traditional one. That's pretty old traditional idea that it happened during the times of Ramses II. But there were never records of Hebrew slaves just kept of an entire race being enslaved. I have no doubt that through various wars, certain slaves were taken.
There were
as
slaves all the time.
Yeah, but the Hebrews as a unit were never literally enslaved in Egypt. That's the
There is-
origin
Yeah.
myth. Just like Romulus wasn't the son of a god.
I know there is the famous Estelle, the Meneftach Estelle, which mentions the first mention of the name Israel, and it claims that Israel was destroyed, or something like that. Its seed has been destroyed. It has no seed.
Yeah,
like that.
the thing about the Merneptah is that is the oldest reference to Israel, yeah. But because of the we don't really know if it was meant to be the people or the land that they're talking about. So
Doesn't it refer to
big-
one of the kings as being a descendant of David, and that's the only historical reference to David?
was that on the Merneptah Stele?
That might have been a different
was a
historical
No, I think
record.
there was a
confusing
different
them. I
one.
didn't do the
Some,
research
from
for this
Dan,
week.
I think.
Yeah, because the Merneptah Stele is older. That was a different one, and it does reference the House of David, which is evidence of historical David. Which I think, yeah, there probably was some historical warlord named David. So fucking what? Not a big deal.
Hey, there might have been a
You tell-
historical character that Robin Hood was vaguely sort of based around.
Tell Dan
Exactly.
still.
That's how
Tell them,
legends
yeah.
begin.
Tell them.
I know 20 guys named David.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty common.
But did any of them buy their first wife with a bag of dicks?
Wow.
Challenge
I was
accepted.
giving a speech.
Whoa.
I was giving a speech in Canada, I think it was, when I was talking about that very reference, the bag of foreskins, and I said, "What would a bag of foreskins look like?" And I showed a slide that was a package of pork rinds.
And what do you do with a gift like that? Like, oh, thank you. Let me put it over here.
If you watch Dark Matter 2525, she made
Well, I think
threw them in the air and made a foreskin snowman.
I think if I'm not mistaken, the original request that Saul made to David was to cut 1,000 foreskins. I think he does this because he thought that this was an impossible task.
It was 100, and he doubled it to 200.
I think it was 2,000.
Really?
Or
Well,
I think so.
might depend on your origin story source.
No, it was. Sorry,
How
it was
many dicks
100.
are we
You're
cutting
right.
off? Exactly.
You're right. 100.
The important thing is that they were not Jewish dicks, and that's how we know, because foreskins.
I mean, do you wear them like a belt, like the Predator when he shrinks people's heads and after he kills them? What do you do?
Lady Gaga did a meat dress. Could you do one out of foreskins? Would you loop them?
Yeah.
Well, this has been fun. And I hate to end the Bible lesson so abruptly, but I have a satanic ritual I have to attend.
Oh, the
Oh, good. Say hello to
usual.
Satan for me. Tell him
I have
tell
to
him to
take care
come
of my
by, drop by.
and then I have to
know.
go to a satanic ritual. The usual orange play.
All right, so thank you, everyone. Welcome back, Lawrence. Good to meet you, Anna.
Thank you.
Next week, are we doing what we're doing next week, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
I think
sure.
so.
No,
I'm
No?
available.
isn't what? Oh
No. It's next Sunday that we're doing the Snake Appreciation Day.
Oh, okay, not Saturday.
Oh, you're really locked on into this, huh?
I love it.
Good.
Love it
All
so
right,
much.
so we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, but I do have
Yeah.
the thing. Make sure tomorrow, Aaron, do you have your Mormon show tomorrow, right?
Yes.
All right, great. Well, before you stop in for the Book of Mormon, make sure you go watch Atheist Sunday School on my channel, where we will be finishing Romans.
And I beat you to it, Lawrence, because your links are already in the chat.
Ah, perfect. Thank you.
Good.
If they're not in the description, I need to put them in the description. But okay. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.